Friends, welcome to my workplace at Ranaghat, West Bengal, India. This is a mature senile cataract. We can see cycle spoke-like pattern in the substance of the lens. This appears like an intumescent cataract. Let us observe this surgery. The main incision has been made, and this is a sight port on the left side of the main incision. And now an air bubble is injected into the anterior chamber. The air bubble doesn't want to stay, which means there is some upthrust. The anterior capsule is stained with trypan blue dye. The dye, this is a bit of adrenaline. The dye is washed out using BSS and a Simcoe cannula. And now the anterior chamber is filled up with 2% hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose. And now capsulorhexis is to be done. The anterior capsule is punctured at the center. A capsular tag is raised. This capsular tag is guided anticlockwise to get an small rhexis, And now some lens matter is aspirated. Now, in this case, aspiration of the lens matter was not thorough, and there are some elevations in some areas. Particularly, there is an elevation at 7 o'clock. I didn't aspirate that part, the cortex of that part, and I tried to do adequate size rhexis, extending this one, and now see what happens. Go, enlarge, and now see what happens as I come to 7 o'clock. Here it goes. It has gone to far periphery and I cannot bring it back. This patient underwent surgery of the other eye a few weeks back, and that eye had a posterior capsular rent. So in this eye, I don't want to take any chances. I don't want to continue with phacoemulsification in this case, and I am going to convert this surgery into a small incision cataract surgery, SICS. So, doing a peritomy from 11 o'clock to 1:30 o'clock. To 1:30 o'clock, and now inject visco, make the intraocular pressure okay, and then do bit of bipolar wet field cautery, so that when I make a tunnel, the area is clean and there is not much bleeding. And now I take a 15 number Bird Parker blade and place this incision. This is a mild frown incision, not far away from the limbus. It is quite close to the limbus, and now I have started making the tunnel. This is a funnel shaped sclerocorneal tunnel. The scleral side is less in length, the corneal side is much more. And now I take keratome and enlarge the wound in this way. And now I have to prolapse the nucleus out of the capsular bag. So I do a bit of hydrodissection, and prolapse the nucleus out of the capsular bag. Now to protect the corneal endothelium, I have to inject visco between the lens mass and the cornea, and some visco is injected behind the lens mass so that the posterior capsule goes far behind. Now in this case I am going to use a fish hook because I don't want to increase the pressure in the anterior chamber. If I use an irrigating vectis, it can cause a lot of high pressure on the posterior capsule and rhexis margin, and already there is rhexis run out. So if it goes posteriorly, then I'll have problem. So I used a fish hook instead of an irrigating vectis in this case. And now the cortex is removed. This is a 23 gauge Simcoe cannula. I'm going through the left side port and removing all the cortex from the right side. Inject some visco. And now I remove the cortex from other sides. Now the cortex from 12 o'clock is being removed, 12 o'clock and 11 o'clock, and all the cortex is nicely removed. And now the antechamber and capsular bag is filled up with visco, and a 6 mm optic single piece PMMA lens is placed in the bag. Both the haptics are behind the anterior capsular rim. If it is placed in this orientation. Now I don't want to take any chances in this case because the other eye had piscirant. The patient is already having a problem. I don't want to add more problem in this case. So I am closing the wound by a continuous shoelace suture. 3 bites. This is the 4th bite. And now coming back. Fifth bite. Sixth one. And now the last bite, and it comes in the group. And now the wound is closed. I don't want to make too tight, then there will be very high astigmatism. So just want to oppose the wounds, oppose the tulips of the wound. And the wound is nicely closed. And now the antechamber is to be, and now this bite is being placed for a releasable suture to oppose the conjunctiva to the limbus. And now the visco is nicely cleaned. I used Simcoe first and then this one by manual irrigation aspiration, removing all the visco from the antechamber as well as from the posterior from the capsular bag. Yes. And now this is a position of the conjunctiva to the limbus by this releasable suture. So in this case, I still feel that I did the right thing to convert to SICS, close the wound with suture and do a safe job. I didn't take any risk continuing with Phaco when the rhexis ran out. And this should be done when the other eye has got some problem. And even if the other eye is not having problem, we should always adopt the safe techniques. Thank you very much for your attention. Hope this video will help you in making the right decision whenever you are in trouble. Always keep the safety of the patient in mind and take action with one thing in mind, that is safety of the patient, good vision for the patient.